Welcome to It's All Mental, a podcast from Everyturn Mental Health. Mental isn't a bad word. There's no health without mental health. We're here to talk about every high and low. No limits, just good conversation. Hi everyone, welcome to this week's edition of It's All Mental, Everyturn Mental Health podcast. You're joining me, Jo Armstrong from the comms team, and today we are joined by the wonderful Yemi Bank Anthony, one of our psychological wellbeing practitioners, PWP for the people in the know. So thank you so much for joining us, Yemi. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming along to this edition. If we just launch into some introductions, if that's okay. So if you could tell me a bit more about who you are, what a PWP is, and like a day in your life, really.
Hi, so I'm Yemi. PWP stands for Psychological Wellbeing Practitioner, as Joe's just said. And basically, my role is to do the assessments and treatments with clients. So I'm the one who, when people like make a referral for themselves into the service, I will do the assessments and do the treatments as well if they get passed on to be supported by us as well. And so those are usually kind of CBT based, and we just basically do therapy sessions together over a period of about 5 to 6 weeks. A day in my life looks like completing assessments and treatments, doing some of the admin as well, quite a lot of admin after those assessments and treatments, communicating with social workers, sometimes communicating with other healthcare professionals, community mental health professionals as well. Supporting the wider PWP and Step 2 team. Yeah.
Great. Sounds busy. Sounds very busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this edition of the podcast is very much around the title is It's Okay to Not Feel Jolly and Bright. And we're very much going to be talking around sort of this time of year and how stressful it can be for people. In your sort of professional capacity, what do you think causes this kind of stress around this time of year? Do you tend to see sort of different themes, different stresses coming up for people around this time of year?
Definitely. No, definitely. So for some people it's a very lovely time of year. For some people it's a very challenging time of year. And yeah, some of the themes that we do tend to see in terms of within the mental health settings are concerns with finances, presents, food, cards, just new outfits, everything. It can be a lot for a lot of people, very overwhelming. So a lot of financial concerns, a lot of sometimes difficult relationships with families as well. Challenging for a lot of people, spending the thought of spending a day with maybe family members you don't get on with, or you have really difficult relationships with, can be very triggering. For some people, they're on their own, and that can be challenging. So a lot of loneliness as well, unfortunately, can be really sad. Some people, it can be, just very isolating. So quite a lot of different concerns tend to come up around this time. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's such a busy time, and also and it's such a varied time for so many different people. Totally resonate with lots of things that I mentioned there. Definitely. And do you think there is a real pressure for people to very much be happy at this time of year? Do you think there's a real sort of external pressure for people to behave in a certain way?
Yeah, I do think so. I do think that there is a little bit of pressure on it because it's kind of Christmas kind of thrust upon us. For a lot of people, they may not celebrate it anyway, and so they're somewhat taken out of the equation a little bit. But I think there is this idea of, you see it when you go into the shops, the music's, blazing, and it's like, come on, let's go. Or
from about Easter time, it feels like it's coming in earlier and earlier every year. But
exactly. You get the music on, you turn your car on, there's the music, which is talking about all nice and positive things, family, fun, this and that. A lot of things that maybe some people, again, like I said, they might not relate to or just doesn't resonate with them. There is also when you go into shops, like the staff, sometimes they're wearing, like Christmas gear, you see sometimes even when you're living at home or with family, and even just making a suggestion that I don't really feel that excited for Christmas. It's almost like it's Christmas. Why
Yeah,
not? Like this is the
yeah,
one time you should. And for a lot of people who they're struggling with their mental health year round, it's going to be difficult for them to they can't just switch it off just around just because it's Christmas. So I think there is a little bit of pressure to be, bubbly and jolly around Christmas time. Yeah.
yeah. And on
Yeah.
that theme, uh, is there a real sense that we should maybe be a bit more accepting that people don't need to do that kind of slapping on a smile, or that,
Mm.
to be more understanding, I suppose, of people and their
Yeah.
situations, and the sort of,
Yeah.
yeah, about, you don't have to feel a certain way, but also, I suppose,
Mm.
giving people that acceptance themselves, that actually you
Yeah.
don't have to feel how you feel, kind of thing, like you
Yeah.
don't have to feel that way. Is that something that's kind of we should be encouraging more, do you think?
I think definitely because obviously, Christmas is also about, acceptance. It's also about sharing
Yeah,
love. It's also about being kind. It's also about being giving. And sometimes what you can give is just a bit of grace for some people,
I love
being
that.
able to, just accept that they're not in that place right now.
Yeah,
And so, and that in itself is really special and quite nice. If it means offering someone a chat, speaking to them, taking them out for maybe a meal, if they express some concerns that, they can't afford it, treating people like you can show you can show your jolliness of Christmas in a different way by
yeah,
allowing people to just, yeah, like you say, feel how they feel. I think that's important. Yeah.
definitely,
Mm,
definitely. And on that note, how can we help people more? You've obviously
mm,
mentioned a couple of things there, but in a
mm,
sort of practical way, if
yeah.
someone really isn't feeling joyful and bright, not that you need to make them feel joyful and bright, but how can you
Mm,
be there for others? Are there any sort of like practical tips that you would give to people to sort of, either to help someone, or
mm.
if you yourself are not feeling
Mm.
great, kind of that side of things as well?
Yeah, so I would say from the standpoint of if you know someone isn't really feeling festive, or jolly, I would say make time to talk to people, checking on how they are.
Yeah,
Like I think I mentioned a few just a second ago where I said, maybe offering to take them out, or maybe offering to buy them, a gift, even if it's, you
yeah,
know, uh a candle, or even if it's a card with a really lovely message in, just to let them know you're thinking of them. I think that's really nice. So yeah, like you said, we're not necessarily trying to get people on board, because again,
no.
we don't have to feel a certain way towards anything,
Mm,
but it's letting people know that you're thinking of them.
yeah,
Depending on how serious it is, you might want to share some helpful links for people as well, maybe some services that could help, things like
yeah,
that. But yeah, I think it's the thoughtfulness of it is really, really
yeah,
important. That's
yeah.
more important than just getting them to be upbeat,
Yeah,
you
I
know.
think you touch on a really great point there about it's
Mm,
not around trying to boost people to try and get them to feel jolly and bright this time of year,
mm,
because I think what you've mentioned before about that whole acceptance piece, that actually
mm,
you don't need to feel any way at any
mm.
point.
Yeah,
This is how you're feeling, and that whole acknowledgement of,
yeah,
you don't have to feel a certain way. You be you, and you feel
mm,
how you feel. Yeah, there's a huge
mm,
amount of, yeah, you don't have to try and pick everyone up. It's
mm,
that whole,
yeah,
like you say, that I love that thoughtfulness piece. That's
mm,
really, really great.
yeah.
I think that's
And
really
I
key.
Yeah, and I think from the other side of it, if you are that person who's, maybe listening to this and you're struggling with it, where you feel like, oh, I don't want to be the, because some people they recognize that it is the social norm to be upbeat right now. And where they're not feeling like that, they tend to isolate, or they tend to be
Mm.
like, oh, I won't go, I won't come, and things like that. I'd
Yeah.
say, if you can speak to a friend, if you can speak to one family member, if you can speak to someone, if you have someone who you can speak to, um, just to communicate that for you. And if they need to be a spokesperson for you, just being like, Yemi's not really feeling, that great this time of year. Let's support her in this way. It might be really helpful to do that. Yeah, as well.
Yeah, I suppose it's being that ally to someone, isn't it? And saying that you don't need to feel
Definitely.
a certain way, but
Yeah.
I'm here for you, and
Yeah,
I can, yeah, just help if you
definitely.
need it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So if people really are struggling at this time of year, which is, perfectly
Mm,
acceptable to sort of feel that way, is there any sort of professional help or any sort of signposting places that you would tell people about to sort of, if people are feeling low mood, anxious, worried, where to
mm.
go to get some more maybe professional support?
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. So want to normalize that it's normal to feel that any time of year. So if you do need that support, there are quite a few services that will be available, I think as well, even during like the Christmas period, especially for people maybe dealing with like loneliness, or for some of our sort of older clients sometimes who may live on their own, or the family members aren't with them, it can be challenging. There are services with Age UK, which like have like sort of a befriending service. So you can
Mhm.
just literally call. They're open quite frequently throughout the day. You can call and just for a chat. And that can literally be as simple as that. Obviously, I would advise as well, if you really feel like, it's actually going to be that you need maybe an assessment, or you need, some treatment. I would say obviously I'd naturally point you towards Everyturn, going on to, our website, going on there, completing like a referral form, and hopefully getting picked up to have, an assessment. There's also obviously some services that are more tailored around if you've got maybe financial issues, or if maybe you're a parent and you're just really overwhelmed. Maybe you're a single parent. And yeah, there's a few services like that. There's gingerbread, specifically aimed at single parents. There's Dad's Unlimited, that is specifically tailored around male mental health, and them being parents around this time. And then there's Family Action as well for support with sort of family related issues. And then there's also some more specialist services as well, which I'm happy to, share and put up as well for people. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And for anyone listening or watching right now, we'll make sure that all of those resources that Yemi has mentioned there, we will link to. So there
Hmm.
will be direct links that you can go off and find more information and support
Hmm.
that you've mentioned. So thank you. That's really, really helpful.
No
Brilliant.
problem.
Thank you. So Yemi, you mentioned obviously if people are feeling down, depressed, anxious, worried, that it's helpful to have a chat with somebody.
Mhm.
Um, are there any sort of practical tips that you can give if somebody does approach you on sort of
Mhm.
things to say and things to possibly not say to
Yeah.
somebody who's struggling this time of year?
Yeah, so I think obviously really important to know it's a sensitive time for a lot of people for a lot of reasons. So I appreciate that can be overwhelming in itself. I would say, in terms of do's or don'ts, maybe instead of making statements like, um, why aren't you happy? It's Christmas, or that's so weird, you're not happy, or that's really odd, or why not? Instead of sort of making them feel kind of quite odd or quite
Yeah.
off the cuff for feeling that way, normalizing it. So that's something that we do adopt during therapy as well. As a therapeutic approach is normalizing statements. And if it's a form of empathy by saying, I appreciate that could be quite difficult for you, or that must be quite challenging, especially when everyone around you is quite bubbly. So it's basically normalizing it so it doesn't make them feel like how they're feeling is so completely, like, how
Yeah.
could they feel like that? It's being able to
Yeah.
normalize it, and showing a form of empathy that I'm sorry that you feel like that given the situation.
Yeah.
So, maybe saying, I imagine that that's probably difficult for you. Would you like to talk about this further? Is there anything I could do, that could maybe help with that? And especially if they've come to you for support, that's a good thing, because it sounds like they're already putting you in a position of someone that could help. So you
Yeah.
want to come to them with something positive and something that makes them feel like they're being listened to. So yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I think that's a really key point that you mentioned there. It's that kind of trying to ease and take it off their shoulders a bit, and being that
Yeah.
that friendly, helpful, just
Mm,
listening sometimes can make the world of difference to someone, can't it? So
yeah.
that's super helpful. I really appreciate those kind of do's and maybe not to do's.
Mm,
Is really great. So thank you for
yeah.
that. Thank you.
No problem.
Yemi, it's been absolutely wonderful chatting with you today. I've personally learned a lot, and it's so helpful because I think even from just my own personal point of view, it is I love the festive time, but I'm
Mm,
very appreciative that it's not for everybody, and
mm,
I think just widening that understanding for everyone and just being that listening ear for someone can genuinely really mean the world to someone and make a difference. And I've really
mm,
appreciated your time and just all of your thoughts, your ideas, and your practical ways that we can just maybe try and help someone close to us, or even not close to us,
yeah.
this time of year. So thank you so much for
Thank you for
joining
having
me. I've
me.
really loved chatting today. It's been really, really great. I hope you have a lovely festive time, however you celebrate. And
Thank you,
yeah,
you
thank you
too.
so much. Take care,
All right.
Yemi.
Okay
Thanks.
then,
Bye.
bye.
Thanks for listening to It's All Mental, a podcast from Everyturn Mental Health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to follow, rate, and share. See you next time.